We have a lot of different build plates available for our 3D printers on the market. Today I would like to show you my build plates and what are the differences between them. They have different properties and different look. It's not that many of them, but let's start with the most common ones. So texturated build plate covered with PEI. They usually look like this. They have this texture which is a bit shiny, and you can feel that under your fingers, right? So after printing our first layer, we can see that we don't see any lines because they are mixing together with the texturated surface. So if you want to hide those lines, this is the way to go. Also, we have a little bit similar to this, which is texturated build plate, but the texture is a little bit more fine. So it looks almost the same, but under your finger you can feel that it's much more smoother. So the difference between them is that you can see more lines on the smoother one, and you don't see those lines on the thick one. Let's call it that way. Using those build plates, I think the best way to say it is you can use any material on those except TPU, because TPU has so strong adhesion for the build plates. You want to use the special glue when you're printing some special materials like PC or ABS or ASA. It's not because they have poor adhesion to the build plate, because they have too strong adhesion to the build plate. So you want to do this small layer of the glue on the build plate between the models, so it's like a separation between them. It's easier to remove them. Having texturated build plate means that the filament can go a little bit lower. We don't see it with our naked eyes, but we can understand that the texture, it's like in 3D surface. So the filament goes a little bit lower, a little bit higher, and it's having more surface to grip. So in that case, most of the materials will hold to those plates really good. Then we have powder coated build plate. It's not PEI, it's just painted, or let's call it that way. And it's like satin finish. The name of it is also the same. But it's pretty good for high temperature materials when we need to use 120 degrees on the bed, and also use the glue. It's easier to wash it afterwards, and we don't gonna damage the surface even if we're gonna need to remove 3D model with a little bit of force. I think it's not good for PLA in PETG because it's too smooth to get the good grip, and also any print that you're gonna try to remove it, it's just gonna fall down instantly itself after cooling. It's also very good for TPU because we have pretty smooth surface. It's a little bit texturated, but it's not PEI, it's powder coated. So TPU will hold to it pretty good, but it's also easy to remove it. You just need to use a little bit of force and TPU will just release. It will not leave any layers on the bed. Looking at the print on the bottom layer, we can see that we have the same satin texture on the first layer, but we still see the lines, printed lines. So we don't gonna cover it, unfortunately. But I can say it's pretty smooth and pretty nice in touch. So if you want to get this effect, you need to choose this one. Next common build plate, it's covered with PEI, but it's super smooth. We can call it smooth PEI sheet. So what I suggest is using only PLA on this one. Sometimes I like to use filaments that have a little bit worse adhesion for the build plate, for example ASA or ABS, because it's smooth enough to get good grip, especially when we have a big surface to attach, because I think this plate holds the best PLA. Sometimes even when you have smaller nozzle and you have a lot of details, it will hold pretty good to it. But you need to be careful and not use PETG or polycarbonate on those, because they're gonna stick together so well, you can damage the plate when you're gonna try to release the 3D print. I did it myself when I forgot to change the build plate when I was printing polycarbonate. Unfortunately, I broke the PEI sheet, but fortunately it's two-sided, so I can use the other side as well. Removing the print, it's pretty tough from the smooth surface. So we need to bend it a lot, and then we're gonna see the bottom surface. It's smooth. Is the smoothest, yes. You don't gonna get any better, or maybe even you're gonna print on the glass. It's also possible, but not practical anymore. Unfortunately, we can see still the lines, and they are highlighted in the on corners. So it is not good tool to cover this up. As you can see, you cannot get everything on one build plate. And now we have something different, because recently I bought those holographic build plates. They are kind of smooth. So let's start with the carbon fiber finish. I can say that they are so smooth that they are holding PLA very good. I'm not I didn't test it with the other materials, but as far as I understand, it's something like the smooth PI sheet that I talked about before. So I don't think it's good for PETG or polycarbonate, but this is something a little bit more mild, as I can say. In example, ABS, ASA, PCTG or similar materials. So how they are made? I believe they are etched with lasers in different angles, and once they have this texture, it's bending the light. Just light is coming on a different angle, and we can see the different patterns. So looking at the carbon fiber effect, it's looking pretty well, but I think it's also going to be looking better on black material or a little bit darker material instead of Holland red Pastello PLA. We can see the lines still, but they're masked with the carbon fiber. So I think this is really good for masking. And it's quite, you can feel it under the fingers that there is some kind of surface. So it's also giving this extra dimension of realism. So if you have some gray, maybe dark gray material, it will look nice. I think I can cover this on different episode. The whole surface is pretty smooth, and the grip to this build plate is super nice. I can tell that. So let's go to the other side, because here we have these triangles, 3D triangles. I can say they are just changing. They look like they are rotating. So I think it's almost exactly the same effect like carbon fiber, but you don't feel under the finger this texture too much. So it's much smoother, and you can see on the camera it's changing a little bit brightness on the different angle when the lights shine. So it gives really nice effect. And looking at this build plate and the dark color, I think this is the best combination of it. So I don't see any different pattern on this except the triangles, so I like it. But it's so smooth and so shiny, you can see the lines of the extrusion around, especially in the corners. So in the corners of the round object, it's funny, on the edge. So you can see between the walls and the infill, there is small gaps, and it's noticeable, yes. So I think the carbon fiber looks a bit better, in my opinion. But I like this one also. And then we have color holographic build plate. It's hard to show it on the camera because it has two different textures under in the bed. So yeah, it must be like this because it's few layers, and this is how the color changes, because on different layers we have different etched shapes, let's call it that way. So these circles are super smooth. You can see it. It looks like a glass almost. I hope it's going to be visible. And still we have these nice holographic circles in the different colors. So they are looking very, very interesting. And also it looks almost like a glass. Unfortunately, we can see the extruded lines, so it's not gonna mask it. I think it's even showing this effect a bit more. So I don't recommend to cover these lines with this build plate. It's not gonna work. And adhesion is pretty good. Again, only for PLA and some mild materials instead of TPU or PETG or polycarbonate. Don't do that, please. And on the other side we have this night sky with the stars, a little bit glitter, colorful of course, and the bigger stars. And I said before that you can see the second pattern here, and it's like a squares between, like 2 centimeters squares everywhere. And if you're gonna get a closer look, like super close look, you will find this pattern there, but it's really hard. If I'm not gonna mention that, you don't gonna see it, so it's super hard to see. And also on this night sky we have exactly the same effect. It looks like a glass, but instead of circles we have glitter in many colors and this small stars, and other than that it's almost the same. I didn't mention about the special very popular build plate that is called Frostbite. I think it's from another company, I don't remember it, but it's worth mentioning that if you're gonna get really good grip on the first layer, you can lower the printing temperatures on the bed, and you're gonna save some money on the electrical bill, especially if you're printing a lot. And of course, if you have complicated models with a lot of small details, it may be better to invest in a better sheet instead of trying to figure out what is wrong. I think I need to buy one myself. So in summary, you can see that having different build plates is sometimes necessary to get the good results. Make your life easier and find the best solution for you. If you're printing a lot of PLA, try to print on the smooth surfaces. If you're printing special materials, maybe try to use some glue. And of course you need to have one texturated PEI build plate for everyday printing. Unfortunately, this is all for today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe, like and leave a comment if you want, and don't miss any upcoming episode. Bye!